Hey, Money Magnets, I'm your host, Dr. Amanda, and if you're a coach, entrepreneur, or service-based business owner, this has been the place for you to learn practical, actionable law of attraction strategies that will help you grow yourself to grow your business. If you caught that I said this has been the place, this is because this is the very last episode of the Law of Attraction for Business podcast. What you say? Don't worry, I'll still have a podcast for you. I'm just pivoting my time, money, and energy into a new business with a new podcast that's called Build Your Wealth School. So in this episode, I'm going to be explaining why I made this decision, who the new podcast will be for, and also give you some reasons why you may want to consider a pivot in your business. So that's all the things I'm going to cover in today's show. If you've been with me for a long time, you'll get a lot of history here and stories, and you'll understand my way of thinking by the end of this and hopefully join me in the new venture, the Build Your Wealth School. So let's start here, the historical overview of this podcast. So the very first episode was released on March 19th, 2019. And today's episode is number 366, and we are 5 years and 7 months into this show. I did take a little bit of a break in there when I thought I was only going to focus on YouTube, but during that time I had a YouTube show and I released about 50 episodes there. So that's over 400 episodes. Plus I've been releasing episodes in my Law of Attraction for Business School daily. So I have done thousands of releases at this point between video and audio and being on other people's shows. And for the podcast specifically, I've gone through 5 rebrands. If you go back in the history of this show, it started as Max Potential Habits, and then we shifted to Max Potential Money. We rebranded to the Woman Entrepreneur Podcast, and then the Inner Power Entrepreneur, and then the Law of Attraction for Business. Now, if you listen to all the episodes, you'll hear many of the reasons why I chose to do that, and some of them are related to why I'm pivoting again. And I wanted to give you a heads up. If you want to go back and listen to the very first episodes of this show, you're going to have to go to the show notes to get a episodes in a list link. So go to the show notes, because for some reason, Apple and Spotify won't play more than 300 episodes of your show. So if you're past 300 episodes and you want to listen to our historical episodes, 1 through 66, then go to the link in the show notes and it'll bring you to the episodes in a list on our website. And those are fun to listen to. If you've been here, you'll notice that at the beginning of the podcast, I was very focused on mindset and imposter syndrome and fear and all the things for startup businesses, because that's the stage that I was in. And you can see the evolution of me learning as I built this business. And what's really cool is that I went from 0 downloads and we are at nearly 200,000 downloads today. And that's just for this podcast. That doesn't include my YouTube channel or me being on other people's shows. This podcast has made it to the top 2% globally, at least at the time of this recording. I'm sure those numbers will decrease as we aren't releasing episodes anymore, but how cool is that to go from a newbie coach, someone who didn't know anything about podcasting, to be able to bring this show to be streamed in 55 countries, top 2% globally, have 200,000 downloads, and so many episodes. And I say this because thank you. I wouldn't be here doing this today if it wasn't for you encouraging me through listening and reaching out and working with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really want to emphasize for you as a service-based entrepreneur that a podcast has great potential to really help you grow your business. I would say that about 99% of my business has been built through my podcast. And I was looking for what's the other 1%, and I don't even know if there is another 1%. Networking, sure, but when I'm at a networking event, I share my podcast with people, and then they get to binge listen and build the know, like, and trust relationship with me. I can't think of almost anyone I've worked with who didn't somehow interact with my podcast to decide to work with me. So even when we've done, let's say, cold email marketing campaigns where a person doesn't know me at all, when I get to know them, or let's say they schedule a consult, I send them a series of episodes to get them warmed up to me. So my podcast has really been a powerful marketing tool. It's been a great content tool. It's been a way for me to grow and learn and understand how to talk about what I do, how to connect with really amazing amazing people. My podcast brought me joint venture opportunities, and it attracted clients, and really, I would just say built my credibility. So whatever you're doing in your business right now to build credibility, consider a podcast if it's the right fit for you. Obviously, you know that I teach being in your zone of genius. If podcasting sounds miserable to you, then it's not a good avenue for you. If podcasting sounds amazing and you're just a little scared, take the leap. A great resource for this, and this is a shout out to my dear friend and colleague Adam, who has a podcast called Podcasting Business School. Podcasting Business School. You can find him on all the streaming apps. He is amazing. I've worked with him as a coach, and he is incredible. I think one of the best at teaching people how to monetize their show, how to get it started, how to improve it if you already have one, and how to really build your show from the perspective of having it be a lead generation tool for your business. So Podcasting Business School is his podcast and his show. Adam, if you go to him, tell him Dr. Amanda sent you. He's a really just incredible human and a great business owner, and has used his podcast for huge things in his own business and teaches others to do that. So if this is interesting to you, that's who I would recommend there. Now, why am I pivoting? If this podcast has brought me success and it's helped me reach out to the world, why am I pivoting? Let's bring this back to episode 363, where I talk about 5 inspirational quotes. And one of them was, "As you take a step on the way appears." This is Rumi. And I practice what I preach. So I take a step on the way, and then I discern, and then I make sense of what's working and what's not, how it feels to me vibrationally, energetically, and then I move to the next step. A lot of this is outlined also in my episode 355, where I talk about how the 4-step business profitability cycle helps you grow your business more easily. And remember, that is to create, test, refine, and scale. That's very much what this quote is talking about. As you take a step on the way appears. So you've got to put stuff out there to test it. Sometimes we have ideas in our mind and we want to do market validation with our people to understand if what we are thinking is going to work. So the best way to do that is to start by asking your people, is what I'm thinking a good idea? And you'll know by them giving you deposits or paying for what you already have or what you're thinking about. And then you take more steps on the way. And so I created this version of the podcast and the Law of Attraction for Business School based on people asking me for daily lessons. They were looking for journaling prompts. They were looking for more interaction. And I also knew that in order to reprogram people, they had to repeat using my inner power formula. And so I decided I love podcasting. I'll create the Law of Attraction for Business School. And it's been an awesome program that's had around 30 to 40 people in it. And it has been a very fun project. Now, one thing I also learned on this trajectory was that pivoting from a one-on-one coaching model to group was a whole new skill set for me. And what that meant was that I moved from something I was really successful at, which was easily finding one-on-one clients, to attempting to grow a group coaching program. So I had this school which was a membership-based program, and then the group coaching program, which was a higher ticket program. And in all honesty, I have struggled to figure out how to market in those ways. I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, probably close to $100,000, to figure out how to scale my business from 6 to 7 figures. And I've learned so much. My God, I don't think that there are ever mistakes if you learn from them. And so in that learning curve, I've learned a ton about marketing. I've learned a lot about identifying what to sell and how to sell it, and what my zone of genius is and what I really enjoy and don't enjoy doing, and what to delegate and not to delegate. And I would say one of the hardest lessons I've learned in this is that delegation to the right people is a learning curve. I think that's where I've spent the most money, and very few of the people that I've delegated to in terms of lead gen have delivered what they said they would deliver. So I say this because I want you to be careful about where you spend your dollars in terms of lead gen. There are so many lead gen people out there. I mean, I would imagine all of you, just like me, are getting several emails a day from people saying that they can bring you the moon. And I tested a lot of that out, and it was some hard learning lessons in terms of wasting money, really wanting that problem solved. And so I'd spend money on something and then a month in go, oh my God, this person is not going to deliver what they said they were going to deliver, pulling out. I think there have been a few things that I might not have given enough time because I really didn't like the way that we were interacting and what I was having to do. So for example, I would think, hey, this person's going to come in and solve my lead gen problem, and they say they're going to do a done for you service, and then there's a ton of my energy that needs to be invested, and I don't enjoy that kind of lead gen. And so it drained my energy and caused me to get discouraged and frustrated, and this cycle just kept going. Now I am aware that through law of attraction, you attract to you your blocks to learn about them. And in this way, like I said, I practice what I preach. So what I started doing at night was going, okay, I got to start shifting my energy here because this is not working. So I like to ask myself every week what's working and what's not. And it's been very clear that something that's not working is lead gen in mass amounts to be able to scale to the next level if I'm going to have a low cost membership program and a lower cost group coaching program. So I kept making pivots, working to figure this out. And at the same time, like I said, I practice what I preach. I was doing money block work, and I kept recognizing, wow, I really am still stuck in the money block of you got to work hard to make money. And so every night I started going to bed saying this: bring me millions, make it easy. Bring me millions, make it easy. And this other, really a request from the universe. So I would say, bring me millions, make it easy. And the other thing I would say is, show me the way to making easier, larger amounts of money. And of course, always with the context of doing what I love to do. So bring me millions, make it easy. Bring me millions, make it easy. It was like a prayer to the universe, like, bring me millions, make it easy. Show me the way to making easier, larger amounts of money. And I would just go to sleep saying this. And then every morning I was reading money block books and working through my money blocks. I was doing EFT tapping specific to my money blocks. And a great book there, if you haven't read it, is Tapping into Wealth. Tapping into Wealth. Really incredible book for tapping on money blocks. And I just kept doing this work. I was, reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and all the books that I've shared with you. If you go back to my 5 books that I talked about recently in the 361, episode 361, tons of books, so here I am reading, practicing, learning, and I am making pivot after pivot after pivot. And I'm just going, okay, well, what I'm doing isn't working. I still love to teach people about money mindset and building wealth. When I started my coaching business, the 2 things I was focused on was better relationships and making money, because if you recall, I was on food stamps and I had really hard times in my relationships, and I realized I needed to change. And that led me to a relationship coaching program. So I thought I was going to be a relationship coach. And then that led me to a mentor who taught me about changing my values and shifting them to wealth building. And because that had to do with me improving in every way. And so then that led me to being an entrepreneur for coaches and owning my own business and all these things. And in that has been a huge love of mine, a huge focus of value of mine, to build my own wealth and to help other people do that. So, you could go through all these episodes and search for the word money, and you'll notice that the majority of my conversations focus on money magnetism, money mindset. And most of the time people come to me in that place looking for ways to make easier money. So building your wealth and money magnetism have been a primary focus for me for the whole time. And so, this new pivot, I kept being guided in different directions. Now, remember, like I said, I was going to bed saying, bring me millions, make it easy, and show me the ways to make easier, larger amounts of money. So I'm saying this, I'm working on my money blocks. And one day I woke up, and this happens to me a lot. It's really cool. Like a new book or something will be brought into my mind for me to take the next step on the way. And so I woke up this one day and I was like, I am not inspired to read any law of attraction right now. I feel like I've read every book you could read and I've learned all of the principles, and that's not true. There's always more to learn. Yet I felt pretty saturated. I'm like, I know this already and I'm not inspired to read it right now. And so I thought, what could I read that's different? And I looked on my bookshelves and I was drawn to this book that I had recently gotten at an event that I had spoken at. So it was me and another guy speaking at an event, and he gave everyone in the audience a book, and he gave me a book, and I brought it home and it sat on my bookshelf for 6 months. And here I am on this day going, what's that book? I want to read it. And I started reading it and I just devoured it. Like, I read it, most of that book that day, and I was like, this is my next step. And so in my new business, Build Your Wealth Solutions, with my husband, Abe, we're helping professionals, business owners, everyday people, families build their wealth through very specific strategies. These strategies have to do with banking on yourself. So you become your own bank. You fund your life and your business. You have tax advantage wealth that grows over time. You have access to cash while you're alive. You have long-term health benefits. So it's through dividend paying whole life insurance and annuities. And this is something actually I had gotten my life insurance license years ago, thinking I was going to add this as a tool for the entrepreneurs I was working with in my current business. But I ended up partnering with some people that I just didn't feel like I got trained very well, and I didn't know what to do. And so I let it go. And then when I was reintroduced to it this time around, I was like, yes, this is awesome. So, starting to pivot in that direction by reading that book made so much sense to me, because I've always been interested in wealth as a foundation. And when I think of wealth as a holistic state of being. The word wealth itself means a combination of health and well-being. When you combine the word wealth, it's health and well-being. And that's not just financially, it's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and financially. And so when you have holistic wealth and you build your wealth that way, everything in life is awesome. And beyond that, when I started teaching personal growth and development along with money mindset, I always felt like, why the heck don't we teach this stuff in school? We're not taught how to have good relationships. We're not taught about personal growth and development from this standpoint of really building your confidence. And we're not taught a lot about money. And that is problematic, because those areas of our life are critical to long-term success, long-term wealth. And so the Build Your Wealth School is the financial education you wish you'd gotten in school but didn't, along with those mindset pieces and the building your wealth pieces about having a life that feels good. Now, you can see very clearly how this ties to law of attraction, because I talk all the time about how you must be joy-filled today to have a financial future that's successful, to have a future that feels good, to have a future of freedom. That is wealth. And so, I'm really tying my two businesses together. And the reason that I'm pivoting is because it's been really easy to grow. So I've taught you in episodes sprinkled throughout, all the way from episode 1 to today, about a sweet spot in building your business. So this is where I want you to consider if you're in a sweet spot. You'll know that you're not if you're experiencing resistance, because resistance is the number one reason that we block what we want to happen. And resistance will look like stuck points and constant challenges coming up. So, like I said, for example, when I would hire the person and they wouldn't deliver, and then I'd go, crap, I'm bumping my head against the wall. Or finally I figured out Facebook ads. I was so excited as I'm like, okay, I think I can build the podcast and my group and all the things this way. And my Facebook ads were rolling along awesome, and it was working. And I was like, yes, I finally figured out a strategy that feels really good. And then Facebook closed my account. And I'm like, what is this resistance? My God, crazy. And so I kept trusting the universe is showing me resistance. Whatever is happening isn't working. I've got to choose to pivot. And as you do that, sometimes it's hard because we're attached to the things that we have created. And if you're too attached to the things you've created, you're not going to be willing to allow and receive easier avenues to wealth or to building your business. And I say that because we're business owners, and monetary feedback is really important for us. If you're not making money in your business, you have a hobby. If you're not making money in your business, you're not going to make it. And as an entrepreneur. And so you got to pay attention to those points of resistance. And I kept seeing that over and over and over again. And so, I went back to the sweet spot, and I want you to do this in your business too. If you're not experiencing that easy flowing growth, maybe you're not in your sweet spot. And the sweet spot is this. Think of a Venn diagram. You've got 3 circles. So one circle is what do I love to do? So that would be your zone of genius stuff. What do I absolutely love to do? The second circle is what am I skilled at doing? Typically, those things are going to match. Sometimes you'll need to learn new skills. If you love to do something, but you don't know how to do it quite as well as you want to yet, you'll need to learn new skills. Typically, when you love to do something, you want to learn everything you can about it. So those will overlap. The third spot is what will the market pay for? Now, this is where entrepreneurs get real stuck, especially service-based entrepreneurs, because they are so heart-centered about their idea. And they're like, what I have is awesome. The world really needs it. But just because you think the world needs it doesn't necessarily mean people will pay for it. So you've got to be conscious of that part. So you want to be in the middle of those three. What am I loving to do? What am I skilled at doing? And what will the market pay for? That's your sweet spot. Now, in looking at my stuck points of resistance, I realized I'm not in the sweet spot. People aren't willing to pay for what I have. Could be I'm not marketing it right. Could be changes in the marketplace. Could be that there's a lot of this type of coaching out there. Could be, I could go down the list of a million things. And sometimes you don't even need to do that. You just look for the feedback and go, I've tried everything I know how to try. It's still not working to the level that I desire it to work. It's time to pivot. And that's why I've made this decision. I haven't had an easy time growing to the level that I choose to in my law of attraction for business offerings. And in this new offering that I have, it's just been nothing but easy. Like, I talk to people about it. They go, yes, they raise their hand. They reach out to me. It's flowing. It's easy. It's growing. It's magnetic. And that's when you know you're in the sweet spot. And don't be afraid to pivot if necessary. So when you keep your eye on your long-term vision, which for me is helping people grow, feel good about themselves, money is a huge critical piece. If you are in survival mode and you're not clear about your financial future, so there's a spectrum there. Let's say you're in survival mode, then that is really challenging. I know because I've been there. When you're in survival mode, all you think about is surviving. You can't help anyone when you're in that place. So one of the best things you can do is get financially empowered. When you have a lot of money or you have money flowing in, but you don't know how to save, invest, and grow it, then you worry about your financial future and you don't want to be there either. And so my new business covers those bases for you. I go, hey, let's help you invest your money wisely and have certainty and security about your future so that everything feels flowing and everything feels good. As entrepreneurs, one of the best things that to me is the most awesome about entrepreneurship is that we have limitless potential and can make limitless amounts of money. We can decide, I want to double my income and do it, right? That's what I'm doing right now. I go, I'm ready for easier, bigger amounts of money. So I'm pivoting because that's what I choose to do as an entrepreneur. I choose to make bigger impact, and to make bigger impact, I require more income. And so I'm pivoting from that place of mindset, right? That reframe in my mindset. And, there are many ways to look at this. I could look at this as a huge failure and beat myself up and go, oh, I couldn't figure it out and I couldn't make this business work. And why am I such a failure? I don't look at it that way at all. I have learned volumes about myself, business, people, mindset, money, marketing. Wow, I could list thousands of things I've learned in the last 6 years of this business that I've been doing, coaching entrepreneurs. It has been so valuable, not to mention the high quality, incredible connections that I've made with the people I've gotten to work with and the people I've gotten to partner with in joint ventures and different opportunities that way. So none of it has been a loss. It's all been a gain, and it's all been a stepping stone to the next evolution of myself on that spiral growth curve. And that's how I want you to think about pivots. Pivots are you keeping yourself focused on the end result, which is to fulfill your vision. And you all know my vision is to help tons and tons of people. In the past, I've said 5 million people. Hey, that's awesome. I still get to keep going through Build Your Wealth School. We'll have a podcast, a YouTube channel. I'm sure I'll write books in the future. So many cool things. Speaking, I get to work with one-on-one clients, do webinars, all the things. And so I'm still on track. I've just chosen a different vehicle to get there. And it is okay. Give yourself permission to pivot. And I know that some of you listening, your business could be thriving and everything's rolling. There's no resistance. Awesome. You're in the sweet spot. Keep going. If you're feeling some stuckness, decide some pivots to make. and just take one step on the way and follow your inspiration and see what happens. Just like I did that morning when I thought, okay, I'm saturated with learning marketing. I'm saturated with learning about law of attraction right now. I'm saturated with feeling like I need to learn more about mindset. I felt like, okay, I'm tapped out here. And it led me to a different book. I read it and it led me in a new direction. And then I got to feel this release and this shift in the energetic magnetism I was experiencing because things flowed differently. And so just pay attention to the cues of your sweet spot. You'll know you're on your sweet spot when you're in your zone of genius and things are flowing and rolling and growing and feeling prosperous. If you're feeling resistance, it's time to make some sort of potentially small pivot or huge pivot. I'd say this one's a huge one, right? To end this podcast when it has had so much success and it's growing, in some ways wouldn't make logical sense. But for me, it makes intuitive sense. And it's my business and I get to decide. And that's the attitude you want to have with yours. The benefit of being an entrepreneur is that you get to design your reality. You get to design your future. You get to design how easy or hard your business growth is. And I choose for it to be easy. I'm done with the money block of you got to work hard to make money. And it's been so fun to watch this evolution for myself where I am no longer even able to get myself to work hard. It sounds so funny, but I work daily. I put time into my business and I quit at an hour that feels good. When I start to notice myself feeling like, okay, I've had a full day, I stop. I never used to do this. I used to work all day, every day, all the time and think about it on trips and just, oh man, wow. And that's okay. That's the stage I was in. That's the process of evolution I was in. That's what I was focused on at that time. As I started recognizing I'm ready for this to change, I started changing myself from the inside, and then my outer world is changing. And so I say all of this to share my story of evolution with you so that you can be okay with yours, so you can give yourself permission to expand to the next level of yourself, whatever that is for you. And I don't think that entrepreneurs share the true reality enough of what they're going through. And perhaps I haven't either. I'm often coming in here to be a voice of inspiration for you and to keep you going and feeling good about what you're doing. And wow, in this business, I have felt so good most of the time because I've gotten to grow with my teachings. So as I learn something, part of the reason I love podcasting is because it helps me learn more when I talk about it. So sharing a podcast episode helps me integrate what I'm learning, and then I get to keep growing along with the podcast and along with you. And so that's been a huge gift to podcasting for me personally. And, when I come to you each and every week and share how to break through and how to uplevel yourself, I've been doing all that for myself too. I might just be one step ahead of you. I might be 75 steps ahead of you. I don't know where you're at exactly right now. I do know that I care deeply about my people, and I care deeply about learning how to optimize myself. And the law of attraction for me is a way of being. It's a way of life. It's how I frame everything in my outer world and in my conversations and just everything I do, because I've read so many books and talked about it so much now. I can just see every scenario through that lens. And that is an amazing feeling because I feel like I have the rules to the game of life. And what I've been bringing you here all this time are those principles, those philosophies, those rules. And realistically, in these 366 episodes, if you went back and listened to every single one, you would be able to become a master of yourself. Not because I'm the end all be all of knowledge, but because I'm teaching universal principles that are universal truths that work through all time and in all situations. So they're timeless, right? And so much of what I bring here for you is just you feeling in control of who you are. If you have been with me through all the rebrands, there was one podcast thumb that said, know who you are, know what you want, know how to get there. It was for the Inner Power Entrepreneur podcast. Know who you are, know what you want, know how to get there. That's really what I teach here. And that's really what I'm pivoting in my new business. I'll still be teaching the same thing. Know who you are financially, know what you want financially, know how to get there. It's the core foundation. And I'm just pivoting my focus, right? And so play with this for yourself. Typically, if you are on a path right now where you feel like you're doing a lot of what you love, it might not be that you're going to pivot your entire thing that you do in the world. It might just be that you pivot the vehicle to get there. Like I said, like I'm doing, I'm still focusing on wealth. I'm still having a podcast. I'm still getting to teach and interact with people. I'm just switching my business model up, and the avatar will be changed somewhat because I won't only be working with business owners. And so, I'm expanding in certain areas, but I'm focusing on a different vehicle. And it might be the vehicle for you that needs to change dependent on whether or not it's working. So just go back to that sweet spot. Do I love doing this? Am I skilled at doing it? And will the market pay for it? And again, if the market won't pay for it, it will lead you to continuous struggle as an entrepreneur. And I don't want that for you, because I know that what you offer the world is a resource and a tool, and you care. And so if it's not working, something needs to shift, right? It could be that you need to think about a different way to package it, maybe narrow your focus, perhaps drop certain things you're doing. Maybe you need a new team. There are so many different ways that you can do this, or maybe you need a new vehicle. I've had this happen sometimes with people I've worked with in real estate world. Let's say they're trying one specific strategy to do creative real estate investing. It doesn't work, but they keep trying. It's not working. And then they could just pivot to a different way of doing real estate investing because they still want to be successful real estate investors, and then it works. So that's another example. It could be, let's say you're a coach and you really love to work with people that way. And you have a specific topic you're working on. Let's go broad here. Let's say you're working with people on health and well-being, and it's pretty broad. You say you're a life coach, let's say, but what if you could focus on one specific part, let's say, breaking through during divorce, and you just focus on people who are going through divorce? Then that could be a clearer marketing message that people would pay for. So sometimes it could be a pivot in your marketing message, and you need to learn more skills in that area so that people will pay for what you're offering. So, I could go deep into all of the possible pivots you could make. I think if you go back and listen to the episodes here, all 366, you will find many, many answers. Just get really clear on whether or not it's time for you to pivot, and then what the next step that you can take. You don't need to know all the answers. Remember, you don't need to know steps A to Z, just steps A to B. And so that is the backstory about why I am choosing to pivot to Build Your Wealth School. And here's where you can find me in the future. So we are going to be at buildyourwealth.school, buildyourwealth.school. And the new podcast will be released sometime in the new year. But what I want you to do is go to buildyourwealth.school and make sure that you put your info in to be updated. So add yourself to our newsletter list so that you'll be updated when we release the show. And that way you won't miss out. If you're liking what you've got on this podcast, you'll definitely be interested in the Build Your Wealth School, because I'll still be bringing those principles of the wealth mindset, so we'll have the foundation of the Build Your Wealth mindset, plus habits, plus very specific practical financial strategies using Bank on Yourself and annuities, ways that you can start to build out the bottom part of the Build Your Wealth pyramid so that you are set for life. Along with that, there'll be a way to schedule a financial consult with me. I'll have, like I said, a podcast, a YouTube channel. We will have free monthly master classes. And at some point, we are going to release a Build Your Wealth course. So really cool stuff coming there. The link will be in the show notes, or go to buildyourwealth.school and add yourself to our newsletter so that you can get notifications so you don't miss out on the launch of the podcast and all of the amazing offerings that we'll have there. In closing this last episode, I really do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the top of my heart, from all sides of my heart for being with me through all of these years. I've had people reach out to me who have listened to every single podcast episode release here. I've gotten to be introduced to the most amazing people, I have all of my members of my school and the one-on-one clients that I've had who've come through this podcast. I appreciate you every single day. If you were with me right now, I'd give you the biggest hug, high fives. I'd be cheering you on. I am so grateful that we were brought together through podcasting, through whatever avenue you came this way from. I am so honored to be a part of your life. I know that podcasts are something that we look forward to. Our favorite shows, we go, yay, there's a new release. And you feel like you really get to know the person in the show and you rely on them for that inspiration and that support and guidance. And I am so honored that I've gotten to be a part of your world in that way. And I want you to know I'm still here for you. I'm just pivoting in a little bit of a different direction. I will still be there for you inspirationally on the new show. So again, just be sure to go to buildyourwealth.school. And until I see you there, I am sending you the most loving giant hugs and jumping high fives. I'll see you at buildyourwealth.school.